That was beast.
That was Stephen Davis back in your Carolina Panther days. Get out of here. Get what low man wins? I don't think so. I'm still going strong.
Look how big dude is, though.
Freak of nature, man.
Goodness gracious.
An absolute freak of nature. So now they go back to the regular offense. In comes Drew Brees. Whoops. Oh, no. And you just have to wonder, Timmy, holding that ball out there with the bandage on that thumb that was hurt, whether or not he had grip.
Yes, his thumb's still taped up, and his arm just gets hit. The ball doesn't get hit. It's a little surprising that that thing
Have you ever
slides
seen
out.
Daniil Hunter in person?
Oh, listen, he's a large human
built
being
like a
and
Greek
powerful,
guy.
sure. That was a massive play, though.
Meanwhile, then there's another massive play. Dalvin Cook sacked for loss, and Von Bell scoop and score. It's a touchdown. You know what's happening. You know what? The dome is going crazy. But take a look at the replay. Take a look at the replay. Down.
No way they overturn it.
Yeah, they did.
Not in New Orleans.
Yeah, they did. And then it's a 3rd and 19 trying to nurse a 3-point lead, and no, sacked all the way down. Unbelievable. So here we go. Saints trying to get things going. That's a completion to a who else but Mike Thomas. So he gets him to the 40, now 1st and 10. Drew with all kinds of time here. Throws it to Jared Cook, and Jared Cook
finish.
Also, George Kittle is all over this highlight.
He's a big dude now, Jared Cook.
I thought he should have been more involved in this game. I thought he could have helped this offense. Drew Brees was a little off all day.
All right, so here's an interesting thing. They're running up to try and spike the ball. But wait a minute, that's an illegal shift on Alvin Kamara. That's a 10-second runoff. However, the Saints could have used their last timeout, but they don't. They don't use it, Tim. So that brings on Will Lutz, and he makes the 49-yarder, which was like a top 5-iron that rolled 250
also,
yards.
The worst point, you end the game with the timeout left in your pocket.
I really think they should have used the time out there and settled down and maybe taken one shot. So in overtime, Vikings get the ball, and Adam Thielen down at the goal line. They are set up 1st and goal. That was a dime.
And the E is silent in Thielen. No, it's not. But that's an amazing throw right there. That is absolutely perfect. High angle corner route with an inside release is a hard throw to make.
That's good coverage.
You can't, it's very good coverage, but no defense for the perfect throw.
All right, so here we go. 1st and goal from the 2. Dalvin Cook, nope. Stuffed by Klein and company right there. 2nd and goal. We're going to pitch it to Dalvin Cook. Nope. Lost. This, at one point, looked like the Patriots against the Titans on 1st and goal for the one last night. So here we go. It is 3rd and goal situation. Touchdown wins the game. Fade. Kyle Rudolph. Touchdown! That's it. You see, Williams saying, wait a minute. Little push off. Let's take a little closer look. Was there OPI? There's Kyle. There's PJ Williams. By the way, it's 6'6" against 6 foot. Arm extended, Timmy. Arm extended, Timmy.
It's arm extended, and I'll tell you, if a flag was thrown, I don't think you can argue it. I really don't.
There wasn't one thrown, and they did review it, and they said there wasn't enough there. So, here's what happened. Kirk Cousins, since he had joined the Vikings, was 0-10 against teams that finished with 10 or more wins, 2-10 against teams that ended up making the playoffs, and 3-11-1 against teams that ended the game with a winning record, and he said, none of that! Take the L, haters, as he trades them down there in overtime and comes up with the win. The final score, 26-20. But obviously, there was a lot of concern about the lack of offensive pass interference that wasn't called. The Saints, by the way, are the first team to have 6 straight playoff eliminations, all by one score. They're the second team eliminated in 3 straight postseasons on the final play, or more specifically, on when they score on the final play, because everybody's eliminated on the final play of the game if you're not winning. So basically, they scored 3 times on the final play to win, and the second team to lose in overtime in back-to-back postseasons. Absolute heartbreak. But what about that non-offensive PI call? The NFL officiating put out this tweet from, basically a quote from Al Riveron, the head of NFL officiating. He said, all angles of the final play of the game between the Saints and the Vikings were looked at in New York. There is contact by both players, but none of that contact rises to the level of a foul. That, according to Al Riveron, the head of officiating. Let's bring in our officiating expert, John Perry, who's done a great job for us all season long. John, that's the official statement from the NFL. That was an offensive pass interference. As your trained eye, a guy who's done this for years and was a Super Bowl referee, What did you think?
19 years in this league, I got it as OPI. I mean, I have a right arm that's extended, there's clear separation, and at the end, there is a push, which creates the advantage based on the defender's body going back into the field of play so the receiver can take outside and get up and get the football. I have it as offensive pass interference.
Why do you think the NFL and Al decided that it wasn't? Is there something that you can say that you point to that you saw that said, okay, maybe I can understand why they would see it that way?
The only thing that you can put it into, or at least that I can put it into, is the subjectivity. I mean, one person's going to say, yes, it is a foul. Another person's going to say it's hand fighting. Another person says it's nothing. Hey, at the end of the game, let them play. Now, this is more than all of that little hand checking in the corner of the end zone. This is enough of a push, enough of a separation to create offensive pass interference in my book. Why? It's subjectivity. Where have we been for 17 weeks as far as the word is consistent? When was the last offensive pass interference that was created? Weeks ago. So we've struggled staying consistent with this new replay rule.
John, we appreciate the insight. Thanks very much. Wow, that's not going to sit well in New Orleans. Look, just as a non-biased observer, this was not as egregious as the Nickel Roby-Coleman plays last.
Is there a play as egregious?
No, never.
No.
Well, the one that they didn't call against DeAndre Hopkins in Baltimore this year, that was pretty egregious. But still, if you hear that, because he's not the only one. We also heard the rules official who does it for Sunday Night Football also thought that was offensive pass interference. It just seems like we continue to find ourselves in this mess, John.
Trey, in all seriousness, I sat in league meetings for 16 straight years where 32 head coaches, all the officiating crews, I'm talking about top on down, Al and the whole crew. John Perry's a fabulous official.
Great.
And done a great job in his career as an NFL official. But in that room, you could play 50 plays, and you're going to come out with 50-50 on whether was that offensive or was that defense. Right. Forget about whether it was PI or not. I mean, a lot of guys would actually argue that that was more on the offense than the defense. So whenever you're competing, it's like basketball. You're going to have the subjectivity, and I agree with John Perry there's got to be consistency, and I think our officials, officiating crews, have to become more consistent with pass interference.
I don't think there's any doubt they need to be more consistent, and I think that we also need to realize why there is this rule that it can be challenged.
Right.
You go back to the play, Nickel Roby-Coleman from a year ago, and the reality is for end-of-game situations, really, let's be honest, it's for end-of-game situations to get it right so you don't have what happened last year happen again.
So exactly like this.
So exactly like this. And so Al Riveron says, yeah, we looked at it from every angle. Guys, I don't know how quickly they looked at it from every angle.
It was fast.
Because we wait for reviews in the middle of games.
Right.
All of a sudden, that game was over and was like, yeah, we looked at every angle. And it was the exact same statement we got on the Jacob Hollister play from a week ago that it's going to decide the NFC Championship. So
in the NFC West game between the Seahawks and the 49ers.
The NFC West Championship. Yeah, so to the winner. So to me, I look at this and I'm like, you need to really investigate this because, look, I am an offensive player. That arm extends. Jacob Hollister is getting grabbed by Fred Warner. Like, they just let it go. Like, they're not stopping and really evaluating this stuff and really, like, so if we're not going to call those plays, the ball is not there in either instance, then we shouldn't have this rule. The rule shouldn't be in place so that Bill O'Brien can challenge on the first drive of the game whether or not Hopkins was interfered with. And the only time OPI is called shouldn't be when there's a pick or a rub play and it's so blatantly obvious because someone gets blocked off of, the guy that they're covering. I just think that what the rule was instituted for is not working if you're not evaluating it this way.
I think you could argue that the rule was instituted to placate some people, and then they didn't really call it, and then they didn't start calling it until it became so egregious, then they started calling it again. So what's the point of the rule being there in the first place?
I absolutely agree with you. I don't think there should be a rule, and honestly, I don't believe that this rule was put in or is even worded to say we want to get every pass interference call right. That's not their goal. Their goal was so they don't have a situation like they did last year where a guy does something so egregious that the whole world knows and believes that it's a pass interference call. Because if you talk to different people on this one, they're going to say, okay, if you call it on the field where it's OPI, I can deal with it. If you don't call it, I can deal with it. And so when you have a call like that, I don't believe New York and Al Riveron want to insert themselves into that situation. It was called on the field. The subjectivity of the officiating comes into play. You move on. Now as the Saints go home, the Minnesota Vikings get an opportunity to play against the San Francisco 49ers.
And Minnesota will be led by their quarterback, Kirk Cousins, and he played great today. He was the better quarterback on the field today. What did you make of that throw in overtime specifically? There were a couple of other ones as well, but basically that said, I can do this. The stage is not too big for me.
I think that's the key. That one was one of many in critical situations. Your quarterback needs to be big in the red zone, needs to be big in critical moments. Here's the 3rd and 1. Moving to his left, attack the line of scrimmage, throwing the run. That is a big-time play. 3rd and 9. Guy in your face, unblocked defender, right in between the 1 and 9 to Adam Thielen. In overtime. Again, people coming at you, high-angle corner route. You cannot throw it any better than that. And then the critical situation, bad snap, field it properly, get it up and down in time for Kyle Rudolph to make a play on the football. That was awesome. Like, that was
zero
definition, versus all-out
and that was
pressure.
a matchup they like, and people are going to talk about the PI or whatever, offensive PI. That was a great throw and catch.
A great throw. And so I think you just look at Kirk Cousins and what he did. I mean, just on 3rd down, I mean, that's incredible. That's playing the quarterback position at a really high level and elevating guys around you. Good for him.
And RC, along with that effective quarterback play, we've known this all along. That Minnesota Vikings defense will get after you. And listen, Saints have a really good offensive line, and they created all kinds of pressure.
Listen, they were amazing. Danielle Hunter, Everson Griffin, they put pressure on Drew Brees all day. They turned the ball over two times, but I think the huge thing for me was I thought the Saints had gotten on a roll offensively. And if you look here early, they made plays in very important situations. Here's an opportunity after a turnover. They could go into the end zone. Everson Griffin has a rush outside. He puts pressure on Drew Brees. He beats a guy that comes around to block him and seal him off. This is all athleticism. And look at the pressure and the finish.
Walking back the tight end,
now,
too. I
here,
love that.
this play by Danielle Hunter. Listen, Danielle Hunter went to LSU. He only had 7 sacks there. This guy gets to 50 faster than anybody in this league has, and it's about physicality, it's about strength, it's about power, and we saw those guys take over this game today. What Alvin Kamara had done in the last 2 weeks, what Jared Cook had begun to do, and also what Michael Thomas had done all season, all started with the quarterback, Drew Brees, and they made sure that he was never comfortable in the pocket, and that's why Kirk Cousins outplayed him.
And now we enter an offseason where 2 free agent quarterbacks are named Tom Brady and Drew Brees. Never thought I'd say that one.
Welcome to 2020, bro.
I'd say that 2020 league year beginning in March is going to be crazy. So here's what we got. We're all set up for the divisional side in the NFC. Number 1 49ers will take